Where did life start out for you, Ange?
Yeah, I grew up in Morphett Vale, with mum and dad, and I'm the eldest of two, so my brother's 5 years younger than me. So yeah, I grew up in Adelaide, pretty much born and bred here, and all of my friends and family were here, and that didn't really shift until my, mid 20s. Um, but yeah, childhood was I went to a public primary school and a public high school. Um, yeah,
Nothing
like
wrong with that? Was that okay? Or
I guess it had its challenges, and partly that was due to for health reasons. I was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid or juvenile idiopathic arthritis when I was 3.5. I know it took my parents a long journey to get the diagnosis. Mum and dad had seen from pretty much from birth that there were some extra issues for me. But every time they went to the doctor was like, "You're just a hypochondriac, like there's nothing wrong with her." The whole first time mum thing, like you're just overprotective and over worried. And it wasn't until I was 3 years old that the doctor finally said to mum, in effect, to shut you up, I'll send you to a pediatrician or to a specialist. And it was at that specialist appointment that he looked me over and listened to the history and said to my mum and dad, like, have you ever thought it could be arthritis? And they were like, well, no, but that would make a lot of sense. Yeah. So
What were some of the things as a 3-year-old that
they were seeing?
they were saying? Yeah.
Yeah. So things like crying for no reason, stumbling while walking. They were the main ones that mum tells me about. She said that I would just cry. And obviously that was a pain related thing. And I would stumble over myself while crawling and while walking, just not really meeting the expectations of a toddler, I guess, at that point. And even at 6 months of age, mum said like things weren't quite right physically. So when I was 3.5, I think it was 3.5 or 4, I spent a week to 10 days in hospital where they ran a myriad of tests. And I think my memory from that time, I have one memory, and that is of being in the art room at the hospital. And I remember wearing, like, this crazy things, right? I remember wearing one of those, like a pinafore type thing, and painting on this easel. So like mum can tell stories of what that time was like, and that, probably wasn't that great, let's be honest, being prodded and poked with needles and stretched and all that kind of stuff. But my one memory from that time is painting and being creative. So at that point, like looking back to then, that's what I remember. But I guess as life went on, the reality is I've not known a day without pain. And so mum was really good with the primary school. Like if I just talk about primary school for a minute, mum made sure that all the teachers knew of my condition, but we made it pretty public to the kids at school. We wanted my peers to be able to understand that I have limitations, but I'm still Ange. Like I'm still more than capable of a whole lot of stuff. But, if I needed to sit on a chair and not on the floor, then this is why. And I think I'm going to jump a little bit, but I'm a chaplain now. And so watching kids grow, and kids are curious. And I think it's really important to be able to share with them what's going on, because they're not judgmental. Like they actually just have a curious mind and want to learn. So it's actually a perfect opportunity at that age to go, this is what's going on in age appropriate language. So that was part of the primary school journey, was letting the kids know what was going on. One of my other memories is at kindergarten. So I'm blind in my right eye, and initially the doctors had thought I just had a lazy eye. And so they put a patch on one eye. And mum tells this story that she would put the patch on me at kindy, and I would just sit on the ground and basically just do nothing.
Just cross your arms and sit on the ground and do nothing. Yeah.
Because I couldn't see. Like they were effectively blinding me
Yeah.
for that period of time. And yeah, so the whole arthritis thing and the blind and the eye thing, in the early 80s, these things weren't really picked up on very quickly. And the medication that was available, they took a very conservative approach for me.
I was going to ask, what type of medications were you on?
Yeah, so I didn't really start medication until I was 6 or 7. This is my recollection. Mum might have a slightly different story, but at that point it was only things like slow release aspirin, and then heading into anti-inflammatories. So the disease modifiers didn't start until I was about 12.
Yeah.
And I've only recently started on a biologic. I think because of the slow and conservative start, there was a lot of physical intervention. So through primary school, junior primary school, I was at hospital 3 times a week, physio, OT, hydrotherapy. About the age of 5 to 8, or 5 and 6 particularly, my knees were bent at about 40 degrees. And so I'd have to be strapped into splints, like a double splint, leg splint, overnight, all night. And then throughout that childhood, so particularly from like 5 to 12, there were leg splints, arm splints, hand splints. So basically sleeping was hell. It was not a fun time.
And through all this, you said you haven't known a day without pain in your life. So pain was a significant constant through all of this.
Yeah, I think there is definitely has been a significant, like there's just been constant, and it would be whether it bumped up. Sometimes it would bump up and not come down. It would bump up and then plateau again. But I have to say that right now I'm in a good space. Like there is pain, but it's definitely manageable. But
it's kind of just pain that's always there. Disclaimer for everyone: I did used to live with juvenile arthritis.
Yeah.
It's not why this interview is happening because of that connection, but I understand what you mean. And when you ask people, particularly for me, with my organisation, Kids Arthritis, you ask kids to say, what does arthritis pain feel like? They can't really give you an answer. Now that you're older, can you answer that question well?
I don't know that I can, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Because I think having grown up with it, there is that constant background level of pain. And then for me now, there's additional aches, and it is so varied. So even as a kid, it could be an ache, a bit like a toothache, but in a knee that doesn't go away. Or it could be like someone trying to drive a nail into a joint and that doesn't go away for a while. Or like there were days that I woke up and I couldn't walk because my foot ended up coming away from my ankle and from my leg. So I ended up walking almost on my leg bone, and later have to have restorative surgery to basically put the foot back in alignment along the way. And there was a whole lot of stuff that happened like that. So there's only one connected joint in my hands, of both hands, and it's this one. And the only reason that is connected is because the surgeons fused it. Everything else is dislocated. And that's effectively what happened with my feet as well. They dislocated along the way. So, but I guess for a kid, like, I guess I just didn't know whether from one day to next, whether I'd be able to walk the next day or how long it would take me to get going. But that was normal.
That's right. And what you went through and are going through is really common. And you're not the only one. And I want to express that to anybody who is watching. You know, if you are really sort of touching with anything that we're being shared today, just know that you aren't the only one there.
Thank you for watching this short clip of Life Bursts. You can like, subscribe or follow for more, or head to rawcut.com.au.